Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm just going to wait a couple of moments while everybody joins us, and then we will get started. I think people will be joining in, but okay, looks like we've got a fair few of you now. Okay, welcome everyone to this pre-arrival webinar. Just to introduce our presenters today, my name is Rhianne Jenkins. I'm the Head of Marketing and Admissions, and I'm also joined by Michael, who is one of our admissions coordinators. And together we're going to run through hopefully everything that you will need to know before you're arriving with us this summer. So just a few points before we really get into the presentation. This session is being recorded and will be available to you after the session, as well as a lot of useful links to things that we will mention throughout the presentation. So not to worry if you are missing the first part of this, or if you don't quite get the link to everything will be sent to you after the session. We would also encourage you to ask questions as we go through the presentation, and my colleague behind the scenes will be hoping to answer some of your questions, and we'll also get to a few more questions at the end as well. So let's kick off. So we have just under 5 weeks left until we start our summer, and we are really looking forward to students arriving. Next Tuesday will be 4 weeks away. So we're kind of putting together the final preparations for everything for all of our students to have an amazing summer. So I'm sure there's lots of things that you will want to know before arriving. So firstly, I'm going to run through a few things about what to prepare, things to think about, and things to do before you arrive, before you travel to the centres. So firstly, just some information of things that need to be done before, or need to be just double checked, I guess, before arrival. So before you travel to the UK, one thing that's really important is accessing our student portal. There is a link there, and as I said, all of these links will be available to you after the call. On the portal, you will be able to review all of the submitted information for you or your child or your client. So I would encourage you to have a look on there and just review everything and make sure everything is correct, all the personal details are correct, to check if the medical details are up to date, including any dietary requirements that we will need to know before students arrive. Really importantly is having your travel details. So if you already have your travel details, please do go on there and update and complete the transfer form that is on there. Whether we're arranging your transfer for you, or whether you're arranging that yourself, maybe you're dropping your son or daughter at the centre, we still need to know what the plan is and what time you're planning to arrive. So please do have a look on there, make sure we have as much detail as possible. We obviously need to make sure that you have made any payments, any remaining payments that are available. I know our teams have been chasing if there are any outstanding payments at the moment. You can actually see that on the portal to see if there is anything outstanding as well. There are some additional sections if you are studying on our English Plus Adventure programme, or if you're taking our IELTS exam. There is some additional information that we require. So for Adventure, there's a consent form, and for IELTS, there's some additional information we need to be able to book your exam. And it's really, really important that information is correct, because if it's not, it may hinder your ability to be able to take the exam during the summer. You can also download booking documents, and there's links to a few other important information as well. Just to say, with the portal, I have noticed and I have seen a few questions about this recently. When you log on, it will ask you to complete, it sends you a code to your email address. Sometimes, depending on the time of day or what's going on, sometimes it does take a little bit longer to come through. It does eventually come through, but just if there are any issues beyond that, if it's not come through within sort of 10-15 minutes, then do get in touch with us. But generally it does eventually make its way to you to be able to log into the portal. Pre-placement tests. We have started to send out pre-placement tests to all of our students studying our English programmes this summer. So you may have received some details yesterday, and some further information will be going out this week as well. This test is meant to assess your level so that we can put you into the right class. It's not about trying to overachieve and trying to, it's just to see where you're at this moment in time so that we can put you into the right class for the summer. So we'd really appreciate if you get that completed before students arrive. If for any reason students haven't completed that, they will be asked to do that on site on the kind of first full day of teaching. And obviously it's very important to check if you have a valid visa or an ETA to travel. So please check if you do need a visa, or whether it's the new ETA. Check what is recommended. I would definitely recommend having a look on the government website, and get in touch with us if you need any information from us, like a visa letter or any further clarification. Okay, we've put a packing list here. So as it says, the English weather is very changeable. So really you can and should prepare for anything. At the moment, we are going through an incredible heat wave in the UK, very, very hot temperatures that we're not quite able to cope with, to be honest. But also, you can experience rain, you can experience maybe not snow, but I doubt we'd have snow in the summer, but definitely lots of changeable weather. So please do be prepared for that. Sometimes we can have all types of weather even within one day. So I won't go through every single thing that's on this packing list, but in the pre-arrival guide, which we have a pre-arrival guide for every single centre, there is a copy of this information. So you can use that as a little checklist for you when you're doing your packing. There are some specific courses that require some additional additional kit. Primarily, that might be that you're required to bring a laptop for some of our young professionals programs, and for our IELTS program as well, as English plus business. So again, this information is in the centre guide, so do have a look in there if you're concerned. Also for our English plus multi-sports and English plus adventure, there's some additional kit that will be required due to the kind of activities that students will be doing. Okay, I'm going to hand over now to Michael, who is going to talk to us about the arrival and information about actually getting from the airport or from your home country to a Bucksmore centre. So over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Rianne. Good morning, everybody. So yes, we do have 5 excellent centres, beautiful centres that we have available. In Oxford, we have 2, being St Hilda's College and Doverbrooks. In Cambridge, St Catherine's College. Brighton is OIC Brighton, and King's College London in London. 5 incredible centres which host our courses. So with arrivals, obviously on the arrival days, which are every Tuesday through the summer, we provide complimentary transfers for flights landing or departing between 9 and 7 p.m. from our selected airports. And if there are flights that are before or after these hours, you may have to book a private transfer. So this will be for students who have already paid for this ahead of their arrival and their departure. And either one of our members of staff or a driver who will have a sign on arrival day and wait with a sign with the student's name on it to take them to campus, and on departure days, bring them back to the airport. As you can see below,
sorry.
No worries. As you can see below, we have 3 airports that we do pick up students from. For all our centres, if you're going from Heathrow, we can definitely get your students to the centres and back from the centres with our complimentary transfers. If you're landing at Gatwick, we can provide, again, the transfers to every centre apart from Cambridge. And if you arrive at Stansted, Cambridge, St Catherine's College will be the only campus that we can provide a complimentary transfer to. Any other centre you're going to from Stansted would require a private transfer. So yes, as I mentioned earlier, you probably been met by some of our staff at the airport, as this lovely lady in the picture shows. Have a Bucksmore logo right here on our shirt, and your name on the sheet of paper that we have to meet them. For the complimentary transfers, they can be up to 2 hours. So if there is a delay in terms of when the student comes out of arrivals and when the taxi can take them, there'll be our staff member sitting down somewhere quite comfortably, just to relax if they want to go to the shops within the terminal. They can leave their bags where the staff member will be with their bags, or we can walk with the staff member to go and get some stuff, maybe to keep them cool. As Rian mentioned, the summer right now is already hot. So if it gets any hotter, you probably will need a drink or two just to keep yourself cool. If the student cannot find one of our representatives, we do have a meeting point with each terminal. So when you are given your documents that we send to you by email, you will see that on there. It does say that Terminal 1, Terminal 2, up to 5 has certain places you can meet the staff. And if the staff member is not there, we would advise to remain there, as the staff member should always come there and meet you. And you can introduce yourselves and take you to your campus from there. And if you are, as an adult, bringing your child or children to the center, please let us know so we can make the right arrangements. Obviously, if we don't have that, we book a taxi for a student that doesn't need a taxi. That would be quite inappropriate. So what we would recommend is if you could send information on our transfer information form that we do send to you, or online when you log in and put information. You can just say that you went to the accommodation straight with your parent, and we do recommend this is done between 12 and 5, especially because at 7 p.m. there are activities for the students to get to know each other on a Tuesday. So we will recommend between 12 and 5 to bring the students to the campus. Unaccompanied minors. So with some airlines, or with all airlines, there are age restrictions, some younger than others, some older than others. But if you are flying and your child is, I say 12, 13, anyway, up to 16, you may require to be an unaccompanied minor service, which is booked with the airline. So the airline staff would meet the student at the airport on arrival and take them through security, take them through duty free, and bring them through to arrivals where our staff members will be waiting. If they do require a contact in the UK, please use the name Charlotte Conway. And also, yes, it is not uncommon for UK Border Control to check that travelers under 18 have consent to travel on their own. So we do provide a form, a letter of consent to travel, which we ask for everyone to print out. Regardless, just have it at hand, just so you never know at any situation they could ask for your immigration to show that letter. We can provide that letter to you and bring it through. And upon departure as well, students will be brought back to the airport by a member of staff or taxi driver, as we mentioned earlier with the complimentary transfers. I must stress again, if it's outside of those hours, if it's a really early flight or a really late flight and it's outside the hours where we can provide the transfers, that would require a private transfer. But of course, we still have a member of staff there and a trusted taxi driver to take them to the airport on the day. For unaccompanied minors, our staff members would help with the students going through to check their bags, and then through to the moment where the airline staff will take them through the gates, through security. That's where we leave them there, but they would be accompanied throughout their journey straight onto the airline to fly home. And if you are collecting your child from the center, again, please just let us know in advance so we can prepare accordingly. And we do suggest that they come after breakfast, so between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m., so they can have some breakfast, feel relaxed, and make their way home. But of course, if you've got an earlier transfer, do let us know so that we can make the right arrangements for the child and for you to pick them up with no issues. Final notes on transfers. So yes, please ring us on an emergency. Now, I do understand. I've also just become a parent now. I'm very young in this game, but I will understand when they're a bit older that sometimes they're traveling somewhere and you're a bit nervous and you want to make sure that they're okay from start to finish. Sometimes students do get held by immigration, but immigration do call us to make sure that the students' hours. We always call those students' details at hand on our portals, on our forms, just to make sure that yes, we can say immediately that this child is come to our campus, and they are with us, and our staff members are waiting outside at arrivals to collect them, to take them, so they know every step of the way that everything's okay. The contact details, let them know, let your children know our contact details that we have in my hands. So if they do need to call us, then we can do that. And also, I'm sure the parents will have that as well. But of course, again, only call us in an emergency if it's really, 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 really bad. Students cannot be penalized for any flight delays. That is literally out of control. That's down to the airline. So if there are any issues out of that, do let us know. We also do keep an eye on the flights anyway. We keep an eye on the times on all airlines for all airports. So if there are any delays, we do adjust and make sure that we still get the student to the campus, no problem. So if they are down for a complimentary transfer and maybe their flight delays them by several hours, we will make the right arrangements to make sure they can still come to the campus without having to book for a private transfer. And we will collect all students, even if they are delayed or arrive early. So we do have staff get to the airport quite early, just in case. You just never know. Sometimes a flight arrives at 7 and they actually gets there at 6. We don't want the students sitting around, look around, not knowing where to go. We'll have staff members there ready to collect the students just in case of any emergencies.
Thank you, Michael. One point just wanted to reiterate there, I guess, is around the contact details. So that is something you can check on the portal, that we have the correct contact details for the student. If they do have a phone, I understand if they may not all have their own phones, but if they are traveling with a phone, making sure that we have that number, because it's often much easier if we can give the student a call and just find out where they are. Otherwise, we might have to call you, which might be at an ungodly hour, to then try and get in touch with the student. So it's really it's great if we just have as many contact details as we can. Okay, great. So that was everything about arrivals and departures. Again, if there are any questions, please do put them in the chat and we'll get to those in a little bit. But I'm going to run you through what actually happens when they arrive at the centre. So as Michael said, they will either be brought to the centre by one of our staff, or they may be brought by one of our trusted taxi providers as well. So when they arrive, students will register with our centre manager. They may double check the information that we have on file, including things like free time and photography consent. That is another thing that you can check on the portal to check whether you have consented or not to free time. I would suggest that you also let your child know what you have opted for, so they don't have any surprises, so that they realise that they're not able to have the free time, and the same with photography consent, because that will affect how they are able to be involved in photos that the staff are taking during the we can change this whilst they're on site, but I'd say it's best to just check it now before arrival. Passports, travel documents and money will be handed into the centre manager to store in the safe. And then every centre does have banking sessions most days, especially before an excursion as well. So they do have access to their money. It's just a way for us to keep student staff safe. We obviously cannot be responsible if they are holding large amounts of money within their possession that they do not hand over to us. We also require that all prescribed medication is handed over to the centre manager for safekeeping, and obviously they will monitor and make sure that that is administered at the right times for the student as well. So we do recommend that students bring around 50 to maybe 150 per week for pocket money. As I hope you know, everything within our centres is catered for. They don't have to worry about food and things like that, but there might just be some additional snacks they might want to buy when they're out and about, or some souvenirs and some gifts to bring you when they get back as well. But we wouldn't recommend bringing large amounts of cash with them. In addition, a £50 key deposit is required in cash at all centres, which will be returned to students on departure, and obviously return of the key as well. So do factor that into the amount that you bring to the UK. We will provide Wi-Fi details at all of our centres and check that students have contacted home. To be honest, that usually happens as soon as they are greeted by one of our staff at the airport. We'll say, can you just check in with your parents and let them know that you've arrived? So that should have been done way before they arrive at the centre. But if for any reason they haven't been able to get in contact, we'll do that again at the centre just to make sure you know that they're with us and they're safe. And as I said, yeah, we'll just be double checking if there's any special arrangements, dietary or allergies or anything special needs that we need to be aware of, so we can make sure that they have a great time and not worrying about anything whilst they're with us. In terms of our summer structure, I'm going to hand over to Charlotte Conway. Charlotte Conway is our head of operations, so she's recorded this great video about the staff structure at our centres, and she can explain it a lot better than me. So we'll just play this video. Hopefully this works for everyone.
All our summer centres follow the same structure, where we have a centre manager who is in charge of all students and staff at the centre. We then have a director of studies who's in charge of your academic programme, and we have an activity manager who's in charge of the social programme. We then have your teachers. They may be EFL teachers if you're on an EFL programme, or they could be tutors if you're on a young professionals or a pre-university programme. And then we have your activity leaders or your activity counsellors who are there to do to assist with your social programme and your social activities.
Yeah, so that's the structure. You can see there's quite a lot of staff that are on site. One thing just to mention, which I hope is clear, is that the majority of our staff are residential, so they are actually staying with the students. They will be housed in and amongst the students' flats, so that they are always available if throughout the night, if there are any issues. So they do get to know our staff really well, and it really creates a lovely environment. So the only ones that kind of, I guess, come on off-site is maybe our academic tutors for our pre-university programmes, and we do have some external providers for some of our young professionals programmes, for example. So they might be coming on and off-site, but majority of the staff that they'll meet, they'll be staying with as well. So the timetables, so working timetables are available on our course pages of our website, which I believe are as up to date as can be at this moment in time. There are also timetables available in our agent Dropbox if you have access to that as well. So you can have a look on there to see the kinds of excursions and the kind of lesson plans that are prepared for the weeks. Weekly activities and excursions are planned by and organised by a dedicated activity manager. So this is where things may be flexible a little bit and might change according to the timetable. I should say the excursions are set and booked, and it's more of the activities, the evening activities and some of the day-to-day activities that might change, because the activity managers are responding to feedback and they'll make adjustments during the course to ensure that there's a great level of satisfaction and enjoyment. So if they tend to have a particularly sporty group of people that week, they might adapt to have an additional sports session, for example. So we will aim to share with you as regularly as possible. It will be kind of on a weekly basis, weekly links to the timetable. We use a thing called Padlet, and it shows you, this is a screenshot from that, and it will show you what their plan is for the week. So you can have a look at that and be assured on the Monday what they're going to be doing for the rest of the week. So just a few things about some important information of day-to-day stuff. In terms of mobile phones, we do restrict and monitor the use of mobile phones and laptops during our centres. For some of our teaching, it is required and essential that they are using devices. So obviously that is totally appropriate whilst they're in the classroom, and whilst the teacher has kind of allowed that's type of activity where they will need it. But outside of that, phones are only to be used during break times and in designated areas, obviously not during lessons, and if they have organised activities as well. And so we would recommend maybe early evening is a good time to, if you want to kind of call them and have a chat with them, that would be a good time after they've finished their lessons and maybe before they have their dinner. And we don't tend to take their phones off of them during the night, to be honest, but we will monitor the situation, and if there are any reasons why we need to adapt that for a particular student, that we may do with your discussion and consent, but generally we don't take every student's phone away from them. So all of our meals are obviously included in the pricing, are there to be taken on site. So we have prepared breakfast, lunch and dinner for all students, and they will receive a packed lunch on excursion days. We will take into account any dietary requirements as long as that's provided beforehand, so we can make sure we can cater for that. There are sample menus in the pre-arrival guides, so please do have a look at that. Obviously, if you have any feedback, we welcome that, and we'll try and adapt. I'll speak to our host colleges about that. Obviously, meals and food every year is always one of those things that always comes up. We have a lot of students from a lot of different cultures and different places that may have different ways of eating. I would say I've eaten at all the centres many times. They do always provide a nice range of healthy food and a nice mixture each day. But if you do have any issues, do let us know when they're on site. We will also monitor to make sure the students are eating and making sure they're making healthy choices as they can. Laundry is available at all venues. So generally, this is done on a Tuesday, because if they're staying for more than 1 week, they will then have the second Tuesday, which is our next arrivals and departures day, where students that are on site might have a bit more of a lazy day, a bit more of a lie-in perhaps, and then an opportunity to do laundry. The costs of the detergent and running the washing machine is covered by Bucksmore. If they want to do more than that, then that would need to be a discussion with the centre manager to see what's possible. But generally, at least once, if they're staying for a 2-week programme, they do laundry one time. English Foundation courses. So as I mentioned earlier, we are asking students to complete an online placement test. If they have not done that, they'll be tested on day 1. So kind of the Wednesday morning, the first full day, they will take that test to then be placed into the class. But ideally, if they've taken it before, then they can go straight into their class and into their learning. So it does have a little bit of a benefit for them to do that ahead of time. And then at the end of the course, they will do their Bucksmore assessment and receive a Bucksmore level, and they will receive a report card and a certificate as well. And all courses, they will be provided with a pen, a workbook and a folder, and usually a water bottle as well. So in terms of excursions, students will generally have 2 full day and 1 half day excursion per week. And one thing, question that comes up a lot is what's the kind of supervision around the excursions and free time. So during these times, the following, I guess, rules apply. If students are aged between 11 and 12, so all under 13s essentially, will be supervised at all time. If there is some opportunity to go to the shops or to do some exploring, they will be accompanied by a staff member. So, for example, in our Brighton Centre, which houses most of our 11 to 15-year-olds, then we will make sure we are supervising them whenever they're exploring an area. If students are age 13 or above, they will have remotely supervised free time. I say they will have it. This is with your consent. This is with parental consent. If you do not consent to them having free time, they will apply the same rules as if they are an under 13-year-old, in that they will be accompanied by a staff member. But if you have consented to remotely supervised free time, what this means is that they will be allowed a small amount of free time, usually during an excursion day, where they will go in groups of at least 3 students. They will have very clear instructions of where to meet as a designated meeting point. They must be contactable by phone at all times. So they make contact as well with the staff partway through longer periods of free time. So if it's more than an hour, they would ask to check in with them kind of within an hour and then the next as well. So all of that information is outlined in our full safeguarding policy. So would recommend having a read of that if you would like some further details on how that works. So graduation and a report. So each student will receive a certificate and a detailed report card, as I mentioned, at the end of the programme that will be presented to them. Graduation is usually a fun event that happens the night before the final day. So they will be presented that certificate and the report will be emailed as well. Just in case it doesn't make it back in one piece, it also is sent digitally as well. As I mentioned, English language students will receive a Bucksmore level, so that can be equated to the CFR framework, so you can see the progression that they've made on our programme. If they are studying a young professionals programme, then they will receive an additional certificate from our third-party external providers who are kind of working with them on the capstone project. If they're doing a pre-university preparation, this year there is also an additional digital certificate that will be sent to award the 8 UCAS tariff points that they've completed because we've incorporated this new level 3 award in preparation for university. So that will be made available after the course. And obviously one thing that's not on here is the IELTS programme. They would take the IELTS test on the Sunday before they depart on the Tuesday, and again that will be sent digitally within. It usually takes a couple of weeks for them to get that. Sometimes sooner than that. And students will have a graduation and a party at the end of their course. And if they're studying pre-university preparation, they also have a formal hall for their graduation ceremony. So it's a really nice opportunity for them to get dressed up, have a really, a nice formal dinner in an Oxford and Cambridge university. So it's a really fantastic experience for the students to kind of reflect on their time and to say goodbye to their new friends as well. So, final thing from me before I pass back to Michael. In terms of illness and medication, obviously things happen during our summer. Students may feel unwell, and so we do have, well, every centre has at least 2 first aid trained members of staff who can provide students with basic medication. Again, that is one thing as well that can be consented to or not on the portal and on the medical form. So whether you consent for them to have paracetamol, antiseptic cream, ibuprofen, etc. So do have a look at that. So yeah, as I said, parents or guardians need to give permission for their child to be given this medication. If a student needs to visit a doctor, they will be accompanied by a member of staff who will obviously take them to the doctors or to the hospital if required. And we do have insurance that cover medical fees. Students are responsible for a £50 excess on the medical expenses. I believe there's some more information and maybe a link to that in the arrival guide. So please have a look at that section for more information. As I mentioned before, students who are taking regular medication can be assisted and monitored by our centre manager. Any allergies or dietary requirements should be stated before arrival just to make sure we can make the necessary adjustments. We'll send that to the catering team to make sure that they've got everything ready for students arriving. And as I mentioned, we will ask prescribed medication to be handed over for safekeeping as well. Okay, so I'm going to hand back to Michael, who's just going to take us through how you can contact us, or the best ways to kind of contact us or the centre team during the summer.
Thank you, Rianne. So yes, if your child has any questions, feedback, positive, negative, constructive, please do encourage them to speak to their centre managers. They are very open to receiving any sort of feedback possible, and that improves us, that gives us any sort of praise, but also stuff that we can think and improve on in the future. That would be very good to know from their perspective. As for you as the parents, as the agents, your first point of call is always our head office, with the obviously exception of emergencies. So as a parent, if you have actually booked with an agent, please do contact them for support. And if you're an agent, please do come through to us directly. All questions or feedback from parents must go through head office. So that's our email there, info@bucksmore.com, where maybe me or one of my colleagues would answer your inquiries, and we will try to do it quickly and efficiently for you. And if you have any questions, feedback sent directly to some managers, that will be sent back to us as well. So it may delay the response a little bit because it's going through different channels, but it will come through eventually to us, and we will give the response that we can give.
Yeah, just to say, I think the reason for the kind of route of going through head office is that, as you can imagine, the centre manager are very busy dealing with a lot of students on site. So in terms of making sure that everything is dealt with correctly and appropriately, it does make it easier if it does come through head office, to make sure that we have the oversight as well. So that's why that's recommended.
Yes, thank you. Every centre has its own 24-hour emergency telephone number, and this is to be used by the students who need to contact members of staff urgently, what matter that could be. Our head office has an emergency hour that is emergency number that's 24 hours active. So the number's there. If you need to contact us for anything, obviously we know different time zones as well. So that's why it's available for 24 hours, just in case you never know of any sort of emergency. And full contact information for our team can be found on our pre-arrival page on our website. You can also call the head office landline, which is available Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. UK time. That would be British summertime. And in any emergency situation that occurs with a student, we would contact the emergency number given for that student. So if you want to double check that and make sure that the emergency number that we have for the student to contact the agent or the parent is correct, please send that to us one more time or clarify with us, so we know that if there is an emergency, then we know who to contact immediately. They are very rare, but you never know what can happen. So please do make sure that those numbers are correct one more time for us. Of course, if you want to maintain contact with your child, they are your children. We have certain times that we would recommend that you call them so you don't sort of interrupt their days with their lessons and their activities, their workshops, depending on which course they're doing. So best time to call is between 1 p.m. and 1:45 p.m. At lunch, and between 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at dinner time, in our time zone as well, or just before bedtime. We do post on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok regularly, so please do follow us. Our blog posts will detail what our students have been up to as well on our website every week, so there will always be updates for you guys to check in and know what they're getting up to. If you would like to visit us and see our campuses, they are beautiful. Do let us know beforehand so we can prepare to have someone to guide you around and show you where your child is studying and staying. And if you do want to take a child for the day or for an activity outside of campus, if you give us notice 24 hours beforehand so we can let the center manager know and can make the right preparations for the students. And yes, you may be obviously their parents, they know who you are, but we need to make sure that we know who you are as well. So please do bring your ID as well, just for safeguarding reasons, to make sure that we know who they're with, and when they're coming back, we know who they're coming back with as well.
Yeah, I think if it's not the parent as well, we just need to know who they're going with as much notice as possible. But yeah, a minimum of 24 hours would be great. Confirmation from you and ID of who will pick them up, and obviously we'll then discuss the arrangements of when they will be, the timings, and making sure we have contact numbers as well. One last thing to mention on this is, I think we said that there are some numbers. There's a contact number for each centre, the emergency number. There is a summer contact PDF file which has all of these numbers, which I think is in the, let me just go back. It's on the web page that is mentioned there on the pre-arrival web page. And again, this will be sent to you, so you'll have a copy of this as well. Okay, so just a few final checks and things to just kind of go through. A lot of this I would have mentioned, and I've harped on about this quite a bit, but this is a little handy checklist to consider before travelling to the UK. So do go onto the portal and check the medical dietary information is correct. Check the photography and free time consent on the student portal, and make sure that, or ideally you have discussed that with your child so that they know what you have and haven't consented to. Complete the pre-placement test if you are studying one of our English programmes. Obviously make any final payment if there is still an outstanding balance. Provide us with your transfer details as early as possible, even if you do not require a transfer. So again, we are responsible for students, pretty much as soon as they arrive in the UK until they leave. So we want to just make sure we know how your child will arrive and depart, and that we are happy with the arrangements. You can download our centre contact sheet for easy reference. So this is the list of numbers and names of contact people that will be needed during the summer. Exchange any cash that you need into Great British pounds for key deposits and for spending money. You may wish to print, or I would advise you to print out the Bucksmore letter of consent to travel. This isn't just for people on the service. This is useful for anybody, just in case there are any questions during immigration. So this needs to go in your child's hand luggage. Obviously remember your passport and visa. This would be very important, but most importantly, if there is a visa required, and if you need to complete the ETA, it's very quick and easy to do, but it does need to be done before arrival. More details, pretty much everything we have gone through so far is detailed in those pre-arrival guides, so please do have a look in there for your centre. If you need any extra information, please don't hesitate to contact us. I'm sure you've already been in touch with either Michael or Marjan or maybe Leo or myself in our team, but please do get in touch if there's anything that you need clarification on beyond this webinar. So Michael mentioned that we will be posting on social media, so do follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, or on TikTok, and we will try to share as much of the vibrancy and things that are going on during the summer. We'll also be updating our blog very regularly. There will be a weekly newsletter per centre that will go out, which will have links to pictures and blogs and important information, so you can have a read of what students have been doing on site as well. And there'll be an array of photos, so hopefully you'll be able to see your child in those photos as well, if they've consented. And we'll be sharing regular photos. We tend to kind of put the daily photos onto our Google Drive. So again, we will share this link with you to make sure that you have that in preparation for the summer. Okay, that's everything. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm going to stop sharing now to see, because I can't see. I'm going to see if any questions that we can dive into. So let's have a look at the Q&A. Right. There's a question from Rimmer. Hi, Rimmer, how are you? The question is, do the students have to have their own insurance? So we insure students. There is I think available the policy if you would like to have a look. So that will cover for an array of things, of medical, for example. So that covers them whilst they're in the UK. The only thing I would maybe look at is if they would like to take out any additional sort of a travel policy for the travelling aspect of it. But the insurance that we have is quite comprehensive and covers them for most things. Okay. Then there's lots of activity in the chat. Just wondering if there's which ones I should start with. I'm going to go from the bottom and just go my way up. So somebody has asked about the Padlet app. Yeah, it's an app where we can update the timetable. You don't need to, as far as I'm aware, you don't need to actually have the app downloaded. It will just be sent to you as a link that you can then view. The only people that need to have the app is behind the scenes, the operations team that are building the app. But it will be sent to you so you can view their timetable. And this is also really important when we're on site for the students, because so that they have an idea of what is going on that day in case they forget, which they often do. We do have signs up obviously around the centres as well, but it's just another way for them to be aware of what's happening. The activity team can notify if there's any changes to the timetable as well. Okay, do students require adapters to charge their phones, or this can be provided by the staff for temporary use? I would recommend bringing in an adapter, to be honest, because as you can imagine, we have a lot of students on site and we definitely don't have enough adapters for everybody. So if you do have your own, that is fantastic. I believe we have a few spares if anybody would like to use them, but obviously for 100 or so students charging their phones every night, I would recommend purchasing an adapter. Okay, so from Momoko, hi. So for the 13 plus students, unsupervised free times, are they restricted to a certain area? Yes, we would need to know, for example, if they're going shopping, then if that's in a shopping centre, then we would, it'd be restricted to there. Or we would just need to know where they plan to go and come back from. So that will be discussed and arranged with the centre manager in terms of the scope of where they are allowed to go. It's more restricted if they're under 13, where we have to kind of make sure that staff are accompanying them. Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading. Right, iPads or tablets are as good as laptops. Yeah, I think for the AI and computer science course, it's essential that they have a laptop. I think for the others, it's more just having word processing abilities and things like that. I don't think there's any special app. So I believe that iPads and tablets for the other courses, like English plus business, for example, would be okay. Right. There's some questions around the formal clothing. So I recommend that students do bring, it doesn't need to be formal, but something nice that they might want to wear for graduation. They don't need to wear like a suit and a tie, but it's for any students that are, having their graduation ceremony, I would recommend that they bring something they feel comfortable in, something a bit more smart, casual. If they are doing the PUP program and they're in the formal hall, then that is a nice opportunity for them to get a little bit more dressed up. So yeah, it doesn't need to be super formal, but just something that they feel is a bit more elevated than what they would wear day to day, maybe. But yeah, it doesn't have to be super formal. So there was a question about if they will pay in cash. What if she drops the wallet on the road? Any contingency? Yeah, I mean, we have a small amount of cash reserves on site if we do, if students lose their wallet. It does happen. It has happened where they might have left it on the bus or something like this happens. So we will make sure that they have what they need, that can then be kind of transferred over to us. So we have a small amount on site that we can maybe lend to them, or, until we're able to get that back. Okay, I think Giovanna's done a good job of answering a lot of these. Regarding the water bottle, there was a question about would it be recommended they bring an empty water bottle. we provide them with a water bottle. So, and there is filling stations at all of our centres. So if they'd like to, if they've got their own fancy, Stanley Cup, they can bring that. But we do have our own, and we obviously encourage their use of a reusable rather than the one-use bottles. So yeah, they can bring their own, but we will provide them with a water bottle as well. And yeah, especially in this heat wave, it is very, very needed to make sure that they stay hydrated. We'll have sunscreen and things like that available as well, but you may want to bring their own as well. Okay, for there's questions about the key deposit. There is no ability to pay by card. We don't have that facility set up at any of our centres, so it does need to be paid for in cash. There's a question about the name of the contact person in case my daughter has an issue at the passport control. Yes, the name and the details is in the centre guide or in the contact information as well. Charlotte Conway is our head of operations. She's also our designated safeguarding lead. So she's the main contact. And although she isn't on site at the airport, what usually happens is immigration will call her and she will advise of who is going to pick them up. It's worked for many years that way, so it's not a problem that she's not there on site, but she is the name of the contact that needs to be given to immigration. So I think, sorry, I'm just picking a random selection now. There's a question from Marta about the first day. There is no course. So on the Tuesday, that is our arrivals and departures. So as you can imagine, we have students arriving at all times of the day. So when they arrive on site, there will, obviously they need to register, they'll go into their room, they might have some time to rest, but there will be some activities arranged for the afternoon and evening. So but there's no formal teaching that starts. So the first full teaching day will start on the Wednesday. But they'll have some icebreaker sessions and some opportunities to start to get to know their new friends. Okay, I'm going to go back down, see if there's any new ones. Okay, there's the placement test. There's a question from Diego, where can the students sit the placement test? It's an online test, so they can take it wherever is comfortable for them. It doesn't need to be invigilated. As I said, it's really to get an idea of what their current level is. There is no benefit to trying to cheat or to make it, because it's just about getting them into the right classes. If they don't take it properly, then they may end up in the class that isn't the right level for them. So they can take it online for comfort of their own home. It takes an hour. They get an hour to complete it. So it's very straightforward. There was a question about we've not been contacted. We have contacted around a third of students yesterday, and the rest will be sent today or tomorrow. So do not worry if you haven't received it yet. If you haven't received it by the end of the week, please do get in contact with us. But other than that, it should be sent to you within the next few days. So someone's asked, will you be sending a transfer confirmation in a PDF file so that it can be printed and demonstrated? Yes, our admissions team will send you a transfer confirmation. So once we have your transfer details, we'll send that over to you, so you can have that, and you can also have the letter of consent to travel as well. If you've not received a transfer confirmation and you've obviously completed the transfer details, then do get in touch with us and we will get that sent over to you. I'm not sure if there's any other ones that I've probably missed some. Let's check if I've missed any. There's a question about, will the students need parental consent letters complete and signed by the parents? Yeah, as I said, there is a there's a letter of travel, letter of consent to travel form. We don't need that. It is just, I would recommend that they print that and have that for immigration, just in case there are any questions or concerns during border control, basically. Okay, unless I've missed any, I think I've covered, or if there's repeated questions, I think I've covered most things. Okay, that looks like I've covered most things, I think. So there's questions about the consent letter. The consent letter will be sent to you after this presentation, and also it is available on the website. We have a pre-arrival section on the website. We also have an arrivals and departures section on the website. So have a look on there. There's also a link to it there as well. But we will send this out to everybody. Okay, well, I think we should wrap up there. Thank you so much for attending and for all of your great questions. And we are really looking forward to your students and your children joining us. If there's anything that you still have questions about after this, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But apart from that, I'll say goodbye. Thank you, Michael, for co-hosting with me and doing a brilliant job. And yeah, hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, your evening, and we'll see you all soon. Take care.